Are you looking to develop the ultimate clarinet sound? If so, you're in the right place. My name is John Kurikawa, and today we're going to be talking about several ideas and tips to help you develop your best and most beautiful clarinet sound. Before we can talk about choosing equipment or practice techniques, you need to find out what you want. Every clarinet sound that I've admired has two distinct qualities, which I'll get to later in the video. I have some videos I'm planning about topics I'm really passionate about, such as selecting mouthpieces, concluding the ligature saga, but I want to discuss clarinet sound because that guides everything. It's kind of like going to the grocery store without a shopping list. What you really need are trash bags and paper towels, but you go to the grocery store without a list and then you come back with a bag full of ho-hos, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it was kind of a waste of time. So let's get started. The first thing that you need is a concept. I know that Donald Cinta, one of the most famous saxophone performers ever, used to demand that students listen to recordings of fine saxophone playing, so they developed a concept before they even picked up the instrument. I mean, I always thought I knew what a beautiful clarinet sound was. Did I? My high school clarinet teacher, Angelo Fortini, used to tell me that he had a record going in his head 24/7 of the perfect clarinet sound, and he didn't hesitate to tell me when I wasn't living up to that standard. It can often be difficult to put into words what moves us when listening to a beautiful clarinet sound, or any beautiful musical tone for that matter. But think for a second about some adjectives that describe a bad clarinet sound. Now, how about some adjectives that describe a good clarinet sound? You might agree with some or all of these. There's no right or wrong. Tip number 2, in developing your concept, have a defined list of players whose sounds you admire. Clarinetists of my generation and earlier often admired players such as Harold Wright, Robert Marcellus, Daniel Bernard, Ralph McLean, Donald Montanaro, and many, many others. Other clarinetists whose tones I admire very much are Bert Hara, Ricardo Morales, Effendi Youssef, John Manasseh, Scott Andrews, Mark Nuccio, and of course my teachers Angelo Fortini, Edward Marks, Ronald DeCant, and too many more to mention. The moral of the story is listen, listen, listen. What I often find is when practicing, your ear will guide you. But unless you know what you're looking for, you won't have any idea what to aim for. So listen, listen, listen. If you have a YouTube account or a Spotify, Apple Music, or any other music service, then you have access to a wide variety of clarinetists to listen to. So listen, 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 listen. Hey folks, Editing John here. I almost forgot. Make sure to go listen to clarinet players live. If you're lucky enough to live close to a major symphony orchestra, go hear them live. You can learn something from every single clarinet player that you listen to, and listening live is so much better than listening to a recording. I can't tell you how many concerts I've been inspired by, live concerts, in addition to recordings. And don't forget, if we don't support each other, who will? So let's go out and support each other, go to concerts, and listen to clarinet players live. Now, back to the video. I actually keep a clarinet inspiration playlist on my iPhone. I listen to it when I'm feeling a little bit lost and I feel like I need to get back on track. Tip number 3, dark does not necessarily mean good. When I was a young clarinet player, that's all I wanted. I actually had a very harsh sound. I used a lot of air, but I really didn't know what to do with it. And my teachers, although they tried, it was kind of like trying to stop a wrecking ball. So I didn't want to sound harsh, I just wanted to sound dark. Dark, dark, dark. The darker, the better. Today, it seems like every clarinet mouthpiece manufacturer is on a quest to produce the darkest mouthpiece possible. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with this approach. Dark might be good for Brahms, but not necessarily for Stravinsky. Something darker and more haunting might be great for the slow movement of Shostakovich Symphony No. 9. But not necessarily for the third movement. My point is that a beautiful clarinet sound will be flexible enough to serve the music. Slender or round, beefy or floating, dark or brilliant. I'll never forget working with mouthpiece maker Dan Johnston back in the day. I had a friend of mine in grad school who played on one of his mouthpieces, and he sounded wonderful. All I heard was dark. There were a lot of other great qualities about it. It floated, it was very sweet, it was focused, but all I heard was dark. I finally got to Buffalo and was working with him. He told me very plainly, I don't like dark. I like bright. Brightness in the center of the sound is what gives the sound character. Interesting. If you find this content helpful, then please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. At the time of this recording, we're closing in on 1,000 subscribers. So if you can help out my little channel by hitting the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Again, I appreciate you all deeply. Thanks. Now, back to the video. The next tip. You don't sound the same close up as you do far away. Daniel Bernard famously said, a principal clarinetist doesn't necessarily sound good up close. And he also said, don't play for your second clarinet player. After all, they're after your job. I think you need to take both of these with a grain of salt. You never sound the same to yourself as you do out in the concert hall. So record yourself as much as you can. Try to play in larger rooms and have people you trust give you constructive criticism and feedback. Sometimes what sounds large and lovely up close doesn't project out into the concert hall at all, while sounds that are small and kind of noisy seem to project with relative ease and sound large and lovely out in the hall, where they should. Next tip, what do all good clarinet sounds, at least the ones that I like, have in common? They have two things, focus and depth. A sound that is focused projects well. Sometimes we find a clarinet sound is very dark, but actually it's deep. My friend Dale Fidel, who has some great clarinet content here on YouTube, has said, dark is the poor man's deep. If you have focus and you have depth, you can sound bright, you can sound dark, you can sound round, you can sound slender. But if a sound is focused, it will project. And if it has depth, it'll have the weight or legs to carry out into the concert hall, whether you're playing with piano or with a large ensemble. So for me, I seek focus and depth when I'm working for my ultimate clarinet sound, whether I'm playing slowly or quickly. Concentrating on focus and depth gives me the flexibility to seek out all the colors our wonderful instrument can offer, without being locked into the paradigm of just being dark. Final tip, pick equipment that facilitates your concept with ease of response while using a vigorous airflow. This tip is far too broad to cover in one video, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. That brings us to the end of this one. Thank you very much again for watching. Play well, have a great week, and I'll see you next time.